I think that a piece like the Tchaikovsky or any really standard violin concerto like that, you're dealing with the perceptions of audience members that maybe have heard it many times, and of course, if it's a piece as familiar as the Tchaikovsky, a lot of people, a lot of music lovers are going to have a particular performance sort of stuck in their heads, and an idea of how that piece works, how that piece goes, and you can't really ever second guess that kind of thing. I mean, you have no idea what where other people are going to be coming from in terms of their experience. So I think really my preparation for a piece like the Tchaikovsky is no different than my preparation for any other piece. I try to get down to the nuts and bolts of it and figure out how it works for me. And if I can be inspired by it, I think that's my best chance of getting other people to be inspired by it as well. So um, I've learned from experience that you never really know when people are going to consider an interpretation of yours to be sort of cutting edge, or whether they're going to consider it to be very standard, because that's really has nothing to do with you. That has to do with them and with their expectations. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if there were, say, a few people at these performances next month that felt that I was doing something really revolutionary, and others that thought that I was doing something very standard and expected, because they're coming from different places, and so am I. I think that a piece like Tchaikovsky comes around a lot, and it would be nice to say that every single time I play it, I sort of deconstruct it and try to start from scratch. But I mean, that's not the case. If you play it one week and then you play it the next week, I mean, you're still basically going off of those thoughts that you had in the preparation for the first week you did it. So periodically, with any piece that I play a lot, that's really in my standard repertoire, I will try to get a little bit more objective with it, and just sit down with the score and almost try to learn it fresh, so to speak. I mean, you can never obviously erase years and years of history with it, but certainly with the recording, this was an opportunity to do that, to really um, analyze and question all the musical decisions that I've been making over the years, and try to really form the interpretation that I would want to have had I never played it before. So that's something that I think, as I said, is valuable to do, as frequently as you have time to do it with some of these famous pieces. You'd never want to get into the habit of just playing it because, well, that's the way I do it. Is then it becomes a lot more about you than about the actual piece of music, which for me is really missing the point. It's a really fun and inspiring environment. I think that's the thing that I've really taken from it in the past, is that you've got great players. I mean, all of the players in the orchestra are people that are either there or on their way to being major players in the orchestral world, and but that you mix that with this kind of youthful enthusiasm, and it's just something different. I don't mean this as a swipe against established orchestras. I don't believe that the great orchestras, I think sometimes uh, there's an attitude like, oh well, these great orchestras, they're tired of playing this great music and they're not as inspiring as young people. And I don't think that's true. I mean, I think that the truly great orchestras play great, but there is something different about that greatness when, for example, maybe half the players have never played that piece before. I mean, we all know what that's like as musicians, to that sense of discovery when you're really getting to know something for the first time, whether you've never played the piece before, or whether you've never worked with that conductor before, or whether you've never played that piece with other great players. And I think that there's that kind of mutual inspiration that goes on with the New World Symphony players. Is so many young people, that join New World, they grew up being the best player in their town or the best player in their community orchestra. And then, they go through conservatory, and that's sort of a shock because they're surrounded by other people of similar interests and similar abilities. But then you get an orchestra of all people that were all the top player in their town, and I think that's a wonderful thing. And you can see it on their faces, and you can hear it in the way that they play. That everybody there's that kind of friendly competitiveness. Everyone wants to really shine in the moments that they have. I had studied conducting with Miguel Harth Bedoya at Juilliard, and had obviously made a study of it through all the playing that I do, but there's a certain amount of learning on the job, which is kind of an odd feeling. Is with some of these programs that I've done, particularly the very first ones where I would play some stuff lead from the violin and other things with the baton. It felt like half the program I knew exactly what I was doing, and half the program I had no idea what I was doing. But it's interesting, it was and continues to be a great way to get to know um, some of the orchestral repertoire in a way that I can't as a violinist. So it's great fun for me, and like I said, I don't know how far I want to take it, but it's certainly an interesting thing to do on occasion. Yeah, well, it's a beautiful instrument. It was made in 1715, sort of in the heart of Stradivarius' so-called golden period, and I've been playing on it for about 12 years now. So it really feels like an extension of my body or my personality or something. So it's a great thing to have that kind of rapport with your instrument. And the thing that I think I like most about the violin, of all the things I like about that instrument, the thing I like the best is that it has an amazing ability to adapt its personality to lots and lots of different kinds of music. You know how some instruments are they're so dominant with certain characteristics that in a way you feel like you're kind of having to shove a square peg into a round hole sometimes. The instrument might be great for Shostakovich, but very difficult for Mozart or something like that. And this violin is amazingly adaptable in that sense. So I can really feel very, very comfortable with all sorts of different types of music and when I'm trying to achieve all sorts of different things.